Ahsoka Episode 6 cements something that I've been saying for the last few weeks since this series started. And that is that Dave Filoni should be in charge of all things creative at Lucasfilm. As I watched this episode progress, I kept thinking there are elements and plot lines and characters that are in this series that would have made for one hell of a sequel trilogy. And to be honest with you, I can't give much of a non-spoiler review because this episode is chocked full of so many reveals, so much lore, that I really just want to dive into it. So this is another great episode that really showed off Dave Filoni's storytelling chops once again. I like episode 5 a little bit more, but that's just because I've been waiting so long for Anakin and Ahsoka to reunite. But go check it out. Ahsoka episode 6 is another amazing episode. But now we're going to be diving into spoilers. Alright, so we see Ahsoka briefly in the opening scene, but she is absent for the rest of the episode. And this is an episode that focuses on Sabine and on the villains, including the reveal and the return of Grand Admiral Thrawn. We're going to get to him in a moment. Right off the bat, Morgan, Shin, Baylan arrive on this planet in the new galaxy, and we immediately get a major lore reveal, that being that the Night Sisters, the Dathomiri, are connected to this other galaxy, and the way I took it, they may actually originate from this galaxy, and some of them migrated to the main Star Wars galaxy, and their descendants went on to become the Night Sisters of Dathomir, like we saw in the Clone Wars, you know, with Mother Talzin. So the ancient extragalactic civilization brought up by Morgan Elsbeth in a previous episode, it seems to have been her ancestors. And honestly, that makes a lot of sense. It makes a ton of sense. It explains how she has all this knowledge about this other galaxy and stuff. Makes a lot of sense. Anyways, we meet 3 Night Sister witches on this new planet who are known as the Grand Mothers. And people who haven't seen the Clone Wars or studied expanded universe material, they don't appreciate how powerful the witches actually are. You have to remember that these are beings which even Palpatine himself feared. They use the dark side in a completely different way from the Sith, using necromancy and dark magic, which I think we're going to see plenty of in the next episode and in the finale. It's hard to believe that we only have 2 episodes left this season. But no, Palpatine, the number of people that Palpatine legitimately feared, you could probably count on one hand. He feared his master, Darth Plagueis. He feared Master Yoda. He even feared Padme because her political skills were a match for his own. And he also feared Mother Talzin, one of the Night Sister witches, because her dark side abilities were so different from his own, but also so advanced and powerful that it made her a real rival to Sidious. And I'm excited to see what these witches are capable of. I'm always here for new Force powers, new Force lore, and I'm excited to see what these, you know, Night Sisters in this other galaxy, what are they capable of? You know, do they have more advanced magic than what even Mother Talzin had? I mean, these witches could be a real threat. And then we get the reveal that we have been waiting a very long time for, the live action debut of Grand Admiral Thrawn. And Lars Mikkelsen did not disappoint with this character. His presence is immediately becomes the center of attention in every scene that he is in. People who haven't read the Thrawn trilogy or seen Rebels, y'all really don't know, man. Alright, you have to respect Thrawn. What makes Thrawn such a great villain is that his tactical genius is comparable, and some would even argue exceeds that of Palpatine. This is a villain who will study his enemy inside and out and find ways to manipulate and break them in ways that you would never see coming. We see this on screen in this episode as Thrawn meets with Sabine Wren, who he remembers from their battles in Rebels, and you would expect the typical villain response of torturing her or even outright killing her, but no. Thrawn lets her go. He even gives her the means and the information to help her find Ezra. Why? Because he is using Sabine as a tool so that he can find Ezra and then have Baylan and Shin destroy both of them at the same time. He has played on Sabine's feelings masterfully. And even if Sabine and Ezra defeat Baylan and Shin, Thrawn still wins because he doesn't really care about Baylan and Shin. In fact, he seems to be wary of Baylan in particular because he knows that Baylan was a former Jedi. He even brings up the possibility of abandoning all 4 of them in the new galaxy. Thrawn is just, I mean, he's just another level, dude. Like this, it was chilling watching him on screen. It really, really was. So anyway, Sabine is out in the wild looking for Ezra. She has this really freaking adorable animal that she's riding, and she comes across these crab aliens who I think are called the Noti, N-O-T-I, and they recognize the emblem of the rebellion on her uniform because they have met Ezra, who also carried the emblem. And finally, we get the long-awaited return of Ezra freaking Bridger, sporting a beard and everything. And as a Rebels fan, this scene damn near made me cry, dude. They hug, they kiss, maybe? There is this one scene where we don't see the faces of Ezra and Sabine, and we have the Noti watching them, and I thought it was just to show the reaction of these cute hermit crab aliens to make the scene a little more wholesome, but I have heard some people suggest that maybe they were kissing in this scene, so is the Sabine and Ezra ship back on? Only time will tell. Now, while this reunion was very heartwarming, Sabine is in trouble, obviously. As far as she knows, she has no way to get back to their home galaxy. You know, obviously we know that Ahsoka is coming, but still. And she betrayed Ahsoka. She joined up with the villain, so even if they do get back, and when they reunite with Ahsoka, that is going to be really freaking awkward, and she is going to have some explaining to do, obviously. So the episode ends with the grandmother sensing the arrival of another Jedi. Obviously that is Ahsoka, and now Ahsoka has become the target of Thrawn's manipulations. He wants to know everything about Ahsoka from Morgan Elsbeth, her history, her master, everything. Why? Because knowledge is power, and knowledge is a weapon, and that weapon is pointed straight at Ahsoka. He says that he requires the use of the dark magic of the grandmother, so I believe we may see them conjure up horrifying stuff for Ahsoka in the next episode, and given their power of necromancy, I wonder if they may actually bring Anakin's ghost into play here once again. And speaking of that, a theory that I have heard, and I think would be really cool if true, is that the Night Troopers, which are the stormtroopers that were on the Star Destroyer that the Space Whales brought to the new galaxy, the same one that Ezra and Thrawn were on, the Night Troopers may in fact be corpses. Like these stormtroopers died between Rebels and the time period of Ahsoka, and were reanimated as pretty much zombies. I mean, the idea of Thrawn having an undead army, holy shit, that's cool. And there was one in particular that I believe his name was Enoch, and that's interesting because Enoch in the Bible was Noah's father. And he's like Thrawn's #2 guy. What's up with the gold mask? I have actually heard a theory that he may not even have a face, like his face is just some black hole. I mean, that would be creepy as hell. With the Night Sisters, they can do all sorts of weird, creepy stuff. They really could. And I do wonder if Marok was in fact some kind of zombie that Morgan summoned. I'm pretty sure he was. And he was meant to be foreshadowing for, again, what may essentially be an army of the undead with the Night Troopers. Now, as much as I have hyped up Thrawn in this review, let me also give Baylan Skoll his credit once again, because this dude keeps impressing me with every new episode he's in. He explains how he misses the idea of the Jedi, not the Order itself, because the Order was heavily flawed, some may even say corrupt, but the idea that it was supposed to represent. Qui-Gon. And he explains how throughout galactic history, the light side has risen, the dark side has risen, they've fallen, they are constantly fighting, governments rise and fall, and it's all part of an endless cycle. And Shin asks Baylan, is it our time to rise? And he's like, listen, you don't get it. That type of power is fleeting, and we know that it is. Just look at the Republic and the Empire. They gained power and then they lost it. No, what Baylan is after is the power to break this cycle for good. And that's fascinating. That is really fascinating. And it's something that people that philosophize about Star Wars, and that fans that are really into the meta narrative of Star Wars, the political aspect of Star Wars, the spiritual aspect of Star Wars, that we have pointed out about the constant wars in Star Wars and the constant fights between the light and the dark, and can there really be any true end to the cycle of conflict? It's fascinating stuff here. And again, rest in peace to Ray Stevenson. I get the feeling that Baylan is going to die in this season, unfortunately, and I think that when he does, his death is going to really shake up Shin Hati, and she's going to become a much bigger character in a potential season 2. I think we are going to get a season 2. But his portrayal of this character, again, very Dooku-esque, and I'm here for it. I love it. This guy is spitting stuff that Star Wars fans have talked about in regards to the conflicts in Star Wars, not just what we see in the films, but throughout the entire timeline of Star Wars. He's really talking about this stuff on screen, and that is very refreshing to see. I like this. I like what he's saying. I like what he's talking about. Don't agree with his methods. Definitely don't agree with his methods. But the man is spitting some truth about the overall history of the Star Wars galaxy. Now, there is an implication that the reason that the grandmothers and Thrawn want to get out of this new galaxy so quickly is perhaps there is a larger threat, a greater power. And I've got to ask the question, as many are asking, could it be the Yuuzhan Vong? Are they fleeing from the Vong? Possibly. Or could it be something entirely new and original? We're all assuming that Thrawn is going to be the big bad of the Dave Filoni movie, but maybe it could be this new greater power that is implied to exist. All I know is that the way Dave is writing this story, the level of lore building and intrigue, God, I wish he would have been in charge of the sequel trilogy. Anyways, that's going to do it for this one. It was another great episode. Really enjoyed it. I'll see you guys for Ahsoka episode 7. And if you want to check out our full, unedited live reactions of Ahsoka episodes, go check out the Patreon. The information is on your screen and linked down in the description box below. Until the next one, this is JeskerJames with a Z, signing out.